If you're ready to explore the Hebrew roots of your Christian faith, then grab your Bible and let's get started. Shalom, and welcome back to Tuesday night Torah Studies. Now, this chapter that we're getting into today, chapter 12, is extremely important to understand. It is missed by so many people. The denomination and non-denominational religious systems have thrown all this highly important information out the window. Some other faiths have taken it to the extreme and feel they need to replay the steps as it is written for the Exodus experience. In this chapter, and maybe the next few chapters, it is not valued. It's not taking account of the contents as it's supposed to lay some foundation about Yehovah's calendar, his appointed times, his moeds, his feast, and to remember why we have this calendar, what is going on in this particular chapter. This chapter brings us to the feast of Yehovah, specifically Passover and unleavened bread, as it is conducted in Egypt. Again, as it is conducted in Egypt. And as we continue on, we will read about the future generations on how they are to uphold these feasts. Now, let's learn from the word of Yehovah. Welcome to Reconcile, the kingdom where we're working towards growing in a harmony of the whole word of truth. My name is Patrice Robinson. I want to appreciate every last one of you who's able to join me today in this live premiere. And of course, those who will be joining me on the replay. Welcome. For my returning subscribers, I must say thank you. I appreciate all the support, all the sharing that you're doing. And to new subscribers, welcome to the family. Thank you all for joining me, allowing me to be before you and going through these steps in this journey and supporting me is very important to me. I really am thankful for that. To all visitors, welcome. I'm hoping that you're ready to join this family that does not mind searching the scriptures, A family that does not mind challenging the religious systems that we have been under for hundreds of years. A family that has made it important to understand that we are a lifetime student of the Bible. A family that's ready to explore the Hebrew roots of your Christian faith. And you can join this family easily. The easy way to join this family is just hitting that subscribe button below. And don't forget the bell, because the bell lets you know when I'm live or any announcements or any updates that's coming from this ministry. And of course, that is not the only way that you can support me. You can support this ministry by making comments in the comment box, letting me know where you're from, what city, what state, what country that you're from, letting me know what you like, what you don't like. We can disagree, but we can disagree respectfully. Share the link when you're live, when you're watching this on live premiere. Share the link when you're watching it on the replay. And if you're learning something, if you're getting some insight or you like what I'm sharing, give me a thumbs up. That lets me know that you are enjoying things, you're learning something, you're getting something, and also let YouTube know they need to send this ministry out to more people. Follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, Spotify, and YouTube podcasts. And of course, YouTube, what we're on right now, and Facebook, actually live Facebook and on YouTube every Tuesday and Saturday. And if you want any of the workbooks that I have created, any of the worksheets that I've created, you most definitely can go to the Etsy store and look for the RK Biblical Studio, and you can purchase those workbooks. So I want to remind you that we are getting close to the time that we will be in the book of Acts. So on Saturday, when we teach what Yeshua taught, we're on the 9th episode. And remember, there's only 14 episodes in that series every year. And after that series is over, we're going straight into the book of Acts. So if you're interested, go to the studio, go ahead and purchase either the workbook or the couple of worksheets for the book of Acts. And if you have not got the Exodus workbook, it is still available for you to get those things. All this is a part of our study. So what we had discussed about ways to support the ministry, you can find that in the description box. You can take a look at that and click on what you need to click on. So that is available to you. So don't want you to forget, at the end of the teaching today, you have an opportunity to ask questions about what is presented to you today. I encourage you to make the comments. Again, I encourage you to share the link and share the teachings with others. All questions that come towards doing the live premiere, I will address those at the end of the teaching today. Anything that you send through the replay, I most definitely reply to those questions and comments each time. So make sure you have your Bible in front of you. Hopefully you have the Exodus workbook in front of you. If not, have a piece of paper and all the writing utensils that you need, pen, paper, highlighters, wherever you need. Have that in front of you. Take notes. Don't go away thinking that you're going to remember everything. Don't go away without testing what I'm sharing with you. So all the information I give you, you write it down and you can test it. So what we usually do is we go over the previous chapter that we had, which was Exodus chapter 11. So I have my sheet up before you for Exodus chapter 11. Now, Exodus chapter 11 is the smallest chapter in the book of Exodus. It was short and it was straight to the point, a preparation to get prepared for Exodus chapter 12. So these are my key points. I was waiting on the point where we read where Yehovah is saying that this is it. Pharaoh's going to drive you out. So we received this right in verse number 1. And we read about that this was going to happen in Exodus chapter 3, in Exodus chapter 6, where Yehovah said that it would be by his strong hand that Pharaoh would release and drive out Egypt. So drive Israel out of Egypt. Egypt have experienced 9 plagues so far, and Pharaoh hasn't listened. Some of it about 3 or 4 times, Yehovah have hardened his heart. Other times he hardened his own heart. But the point is, Pharaoh's heart was hardened long before the Exodus experience started happening. He even, the whole country of Egypt was, the Pharaoh before him also was hardened at that time. Now, my second point, the jewels of silver and the jewels of gold, how the children of Israel will go ask. I know it says borrow, but you look it up, it's ask for these goods. Now, why are they asking for these goods? They're asking for the goods because they're trying to get their payment. So they're asking, and they're going to freely give to the children of Israel because they have high esteem of Moses witnessing everything that happened. So it won't be no problem. So when the children of Israel come and ask for that payment for the silver and the gold, they're going to be gladly to give it to them because Egypt owes them, needs to pay restitution for the forced enslavement and labor that they have forced Egypt to do. Here we have the last plague in chapter 11. Now, the children of Israel is fully aware that this is going to be the firstborn plague. Now, the firstborn plague is going to hit man and beast all the way from the throne of Egypt to the animals. Most definitely are going to be hit with this plague. And we know that Pharaoh is a god to his people. So just let you know that even their God, Pharaoh, is going to be hit all the way to the beast. My application insight, Yehovah, as we read in chapter 11, which we've been reading all the way from chapter 1, Yehovah will take care of his people. And those that owe you will pay you. It's going to happen. Those who mistreat you, Yehovah would take care of them. So while I was reading chapter 11, there was a specific verse that came to my mind. And that was Romans chapter 12, verse 19, where it says, "Do not avenge yourself, beloved, but leave room for Jehovah's Elohim's wrath, for it is written, vengeance is mine, I will repay, says Yehovah." So what we should be doing is praying for mercy for them, because when Jehovah's wrath comes, boy, does it come, which we are reading about in the book of Exodus. So this is my word. There was no word study, my cross reference, and no questions for Exodus chapter 11. And as usual, I will leave my sheet up for a while to give you opportunity to share your questions, your comments, your key points, or anything that you want to share from what we discussed on today, from chapter 11, and of course, what we will be discussing in chapter 12. Now, we went through chapter 11 last week again, which was the smallest chapter in the book of Exodus. And now we're about to start chapter 12, which is the longest chapter, meaning that we will not complete Exodus chapter 12 on today. I just haven't figured out whether we're going to cut this into 2 pieces or 3 part. I have no idea at this point. But today, we're just going to focus on what we have before us. Exodus chapter 12, verse 1. "And Jehovah spake unto Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, saying, This month shall be unto you the beginning of months. It should be the first month of the year to you. Speak ye unto all the congregation of Israel, saying, In the 10th day of this month, they shall take to them every man a lamb, according to the house of their fathers, a lamb for a house. And if the household be too little for the lamb, let him and his neighbor next unto his house take it according to the number of souls. Every man, according to his eating, shall make your account for the lamb. Your lamb will be without blemish, a male of the first year, and you should take it out from the sheep or from the goats." This is the first instruction of Jehovah's people about his calendar. The children of Israel at this point had not known Jehovah's calendar. He explained this is the first month of the beginning of months. You will no longer be going by the calendar that you have learned in Egypt. This is the first month of the year. During this month, on the 10th day, you should get a lamb. You should pick out a lamb or a goat, and it must be at least 1 year old. It should not have any blemish, not a speckle or a speck. Remember, we read about Joseph get the speckle or the speck of Laban's flock. So this is what we call the biblical calendar that is going on, that Yehovah himself is setting for his people. The Father himself is setting this biblical calendar. Man does not set this calendar in this requirements. They're not set by Moses. They're not set by Aaron. This calendar is not set by Jews, but by Yehovah for his congregation, for his people. As we will learn in later chapters, of course, of the course of the Torah, this is a monthly feast to announce a new month to help us keep up with Yehovah's calendar. So this is not set by man. This is actually set by Yehovah himself. Verse 6, and ye shall keep it up until the 14th day. So you're going to keep this lamb or goat that you pick out on the 10th day without a blemish, 1 year old. You're going to keep it up to the 14th day of the same month. And the whole assembly of the congregation of Israel shall kill it in the evening. And they shall take of the blood, strike it on 2 side posts and upon the upper doorposts of the houses, wherein they shall eat it. Where you eating it? They shall eat the flesh in that night, roast with fire, unleavened bread with bitter herbs, they shall eat it. Eat not of it raw, nor salted at all with water, but roast with fire his head and his legs, and with the pertness thereof. And you shall let none of it remain until the morning, and that which remaineth of it until morning you shall burn with fire. So this lamb or goat that you're going to pick out, you're going to take an account of the size of your household. And if your household is too small, you go to your neighbor and you guys share a lamb, which means that you're going to be in the same household together. You're going to have a discussion of which house you're going to be in. So around the 10th day, you're going to pick this, right? You're going to pick this lamb or goat, and until the 14th day, this lamb is going to be here. Now, in the evening of the 14th day, you should kill the lamb. Everyone is doing this at the same time. The entire congregation is doing this at the same time. Every household is doing this at the same time. This is what's going on while you're in Egypt. At this point, we're still there. Now, why do I keep saying while we're in Egypt? Because the next part of the instructions eventually will be changed to once you leave Egypt, when you get to that promised land. So right now we're kind of sticking with what is being written for Egypt, and then we'll get to the point where we read it for future generations. Now, this lamb or goat that you're going to pick, you're going to take the blood, and you're going to take the blood that's coming from that lamb or goat and place it in specific areas of the house on the outside, on the side and on the upper section of the post. Again, this is a specific instruction that was given while they're in Egypt. The lamb or goat that you took the blood from is going to be the one that you're going to roast. With this roasted lamb, you will have unleavened bread and bitter herbs. Now, this is what you're going to take note for. Take this note. You're not to remove the head. You're not to remove the legs. or the inner parts or the organs of this lamb. This will be roasted as a whole. Again, these are the instructions that they're giving. Verse number 11 of Exodus 12. And thus shall eat it with your loins girded, your shoes on your feet, your staff in your hand, and you should eat it in haste. It is Yehovah's Passover. It is Yehovah's Passover. For I will pass through the land of Egypt this night, and wait a minute. For I will pass through the land of Egypt this night, and will smite all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, both man and beast, and against all the gods of Egypt I will execute judgment. I am Yehovah. So verse 11 and 12. Verse 11, we actually get the name of this special meal, this special event that's going to happen on the 14th day. Passover, Pesach, H6453, meaning involving a communion meal. This is among the assembly. Now, while you're having this special meal, you're in your houses. This is why you're in Egypt. The blood of the lamb or goat, whichever you chose, spread on the sides and the upper sections of the posts. I will be passing through while you are in your houses having this meal, right? With the blood on the sides and the upper posts. I will passing through the land of Egypt by night. I, Yehovah, will smite all the firstborn of man and beast in Egypt. Firstborn, young and old, whoever is the firstborn of that household, whether you're 90 years old and you're the firstborn of your mother, whether you're 55 years old, whether you're 17 years old, whether you're 1 year old, whatever that firstborn of that household and of beast. I'm coming and execute judgment on all the Elohims of Egypt. This will be me, Yehovah said. Eating, thus shall you eat with your loins girded and shoes on your feet and your staff in your hand, and you should eat with haste. Now, those instructions is specific because they will be leaving in haste, as we will find out as we continue through our studies. So specifically, 11 is for when they're in Egypt, because they will be leaving in haste. They have to move quickly. Okay. Verse 13. And the blood should be to you for a token upon the houses where you are. And when I see the blood, I will pass over you. Now, who sees the blood? When Yehovah sees the blood, he will pass over you, and the plague shall not be upon you to destroy you when I smite the land of Egypt. And this day shall be unto you for a memorial, and you shall keep it a feast to Yehovah throughout your generations. This is where we get more information. Throughout your generations. And you should keep it a feast by an ordinance forever. 7 days you should eat unleavened bread, and even the first day you should be put away leaven out of your houses. For whosoever eat leavened bread from that first day until the 7th day, that soul should be cut off from Israel. And in the first day, there should be a holy convocation. And in the 7th day, there should be a holy convocation to you. No manner of work should be done in them, save that which every man must eat, that only may be done of you. Now, let me tell you what the blood does for you. This is what Yehovah is telling him. Let me tell you what this blood's going to do for you. While I'm out at night judging Egyptians, Elohims, making the judgment, executing judgment in the land of Egypt, I'll be making my way throughout the land of Egypt. The blood that I told you placed in specific sections, I will pass over the homes that have followed those instructions. So if you don't follow those instructions, you're going to be judged. This blood will protect you from me because I'm coming and judging the disobedient ones. The judgment is in the land. So take a moment to think about this. He who is right, he who is just, needs to protect you from him. This is the only way that you're going to survive. And you would think, oh, because he's God, why do we need to be protected from him? Why can't he just? Because there's something in them too, because they're disobedient, they will face that judgment too. Just like there's something in us that needs to be cleansed out, and we need the blood of Yeshua, our Passover lamb. This is a day of remembrance. For 7 days, and those 7 days, there should be no leaven found in your homes. And later time, we was actually find out in the community. The first and the 7th day will be a holy convocation, a mikra. We looked that up in Strong's H4744, a sacred assembly. This is where we get the high Sabbath language from, because this first and 7th day can fall on any day of the week. Okay? If you fall, the first day fall on a Monday and the last day fall on a Friday, for example, those 2 days will be honored as a Sabbath day. Therefore, it's not a regular Sabbath day and acknowledged as a high Sabbath. That's where that language come from, if you new to the Hebrew roots. Verse 17. And you shall observe the feast of unleavened bread, for in this selfsame day I have brought your armies out of the land of Egypt. Therefore shall you observe this day in your generations by ordinance forever. This is something that should continue, something that we should not be ending on this age. This again reminds you what happened in Egypt. In particular, how Yehovah brought his armies out of Egypt. Now, Yehovah is always speaking about the future, the days to come. He's always getting people prepared for the days coming. So they are not an army yet. Believe me, when they get in the wilderness, they're going to be well trained. Now, we are supposed to be soldiers in the army of Yehovah. We're fighting to build, to enlarge the kingdom of Yehovah. I don't want us to forget that this ordinance he's speaking about is forever in this age of time. We're not looking at what's going to happen when the end of age happens. We're not looking at that. We're looking at this age, at this time that this happened. Verse 18. In the first month, on the 14th day of the month at eve, you shall eat unleavened bread until the 21st day of the month at eve. 7 days, there should be no leaven found in your houses. For whosoever eateth that which is leaven, even that soul should be cut off from the congregation of Israel, whether he be a stranger or born in the land. I want to pause right there. I think this is the first clue that we are recognizing that it will not only be the congregation of Israel communing together. We're hearing whether he be a stranger or born in the land. So it is not only going to be the congregation of Israel, it will be people joining into the congregation of Israel. Because when people hear the congregation of Israel, all they think of is the children of Israel. There will be a multitude, a mixed multitude that's going to be coming out. And as we continue to read, like we read in the book of Ruth, as we read in Judges, there are many people who join in with the children of Israel. Verse 20, and you should eat nothing leavened. In all your habitations, you should eat unleavened bread. Then Moses called for all the elders of Israel and said to them, draw out and take your lamb according to your families and kill the Passover. And you should take a bunch of hyssop and dip it in the blood that's in the basin and strike the intel in the two side posts with the blood that's in the basin. And none of you should go out the door of his house until the morning. So this is specific instructions that he's given them until the morning. So you know when you're coming out. So stay in your house. For Yehovah will pass through to smite the Egyptians. And when he seeth the blood upon the intel and the two side posts, Yehovah will pass over the door and will not suffer the destroyer to come into your houses to smite you. So there's a possibility that if you don't follow these instructions, although you are of the bloodline, natural born of the children of Israel, of Jacob, of Israel, which his name changed to, out of the 12 tribes, you will be smart too. And you shall observe this thing for an ordinance thee to thee and to thy sons forever. Again, that forever. Now, as we've been reading this so far in the book of Exodus, we have heard that the children of Israel have different roles. One, they're the firstborn son. They are a congregation, an assembly, and they are an army. So just keep in mind of all these different roles that the children of Israel and those who join in will play, just as the different roles that Yehovah will play to his people. Okay, just keep that in mind. Just a little side note to keep in mind. In this passage today, we have read a lot about leaven and how it should not be found in your home during the 7-day feast. Now, I want to address this leaven because many people of different faiths teach that leaven is sin. And I actually spoke to someone about this. And I've also heard some teachers speak that leaven is sin. So I want to point out to everyone what Yeshua taught, what he taught, what leaven is, and what it is, how it plays in our lives. Not what man would teach you, but what our Messiah had taught. What he taught his disciples, what his disciples taught their disciples, and on, because we all are disciples of the Messiah, right? So Yeshua gave us warning about leaven in the book of Matthew, in the book of Mark. So we're going to read Matthew 16:6 first. Watch out, Yeshua told them, beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and Sadducees. And then in Mark 8:15, watch out. He cautioned them, beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and of Herod. Now, what is leaven again? Leaven is not sin. It is the teachings, because he explained to the disciples in verse 12 of Matthew of what is leaven. So we have to understand what the Messiah, what Yeshua himself is teaching about leaven. I'm going to read Matthew 16:12. Then they understood that he was not telling them to beware of the leaven used in bread, because remember, that's the time that he was the bread has been multiplied, and so they was talking about thinking that he's talking about the bread they left there, but he's saying their understanding, that he's not telling them to beware of the leaven used in bread, but of the teaching of the Pharisees and the Sadducees and Herod. The verse actually says Pharisees and Sadducees, but in Mark is Herod. Yeshua does not teach leaven is sin. It is all false teachings. Leaven is false teachings, false doctrines, traditions that you put over him, over the word. And this is what happens that comes from different faiths. the false teaching and doctrines and all that happens in this way. And it's called leaven. So what false teachings do to you? They're lies. Lies are all the ways that the enemy himself keep you oppressed, keep you subject to man ruling, keep a person in bondage, keep the person blind, prevent a person from seeking or seeing the kingdom of Yehovah. All of this is the danger of leaven, which is false teachings. And I really wanted to plug that in on today because I have seen many, actually a few teachers who teach that the leaven is sin. Now, going to verse 21 and 24 of Exodus chapter 12, what we reading is Moses giving all the elders the instructions that have come from Yehovah. He does not leave out what Yehovah will be doing. He's coming himself and destroying the Egyptians and all those who not following the instructions, because Moses warned the people, if you do not put the blood on the post and stay in until the morning, you will be smite also. Verse 25. And it shall come to pass, when you become to the land which Yehovah will give you, according as he had promised, that you should keep this service. That's Passover and unleavened bread. It should come to pass when your children shall say unto you, what mean ye by this service? That you should say, it is the service of Jehovah's Passover, who passed over the houses of the children of Israel in Egypt, when he smote the Egyptians and delivered our houses. And the people bowed their head in worship. And the children of Israel went away and did as Jehovah commanded Moses and Aaron, so did they. Moses continues to instruct the elders that this will continue in the promised land. This feast and the many requirements, let's talk about those requirements, okay? A lamb or a goat chosen on the 10th day, slaughtered on the 14th day, roasted with fire, unleavened bread, and eaten with unleavened bread and bitter herbs, served on the first day of unleavened bread. Don't take the head off, don't take the legs off, keep the organs all roasted as whole. All the congregations would do this until, and that would change too, but all the congregations would do this. On the first day and the 7th day will be a holy convocation where the assembly will come together. None of the food shall be remain in the morning. If anything is left in the morning, this shall be burned with fire. Now, we have to remember, this is Jehovah's feast. Now, we are in the 12th month of the biblical calendar. That means that when the first month come up, which will come soon, unless there's a 13th month, depends on the side of the moon. Remember, Jehovah's calendar goes from sunset to sunset. We're coming up on the Passover and unleavened bread 7-day feast. So this information that I'm giving you that we're talking about today is something that you should be meditating on and getting prepared for this feast that's coming up. This is an appointed time from Yehovah. You will teach this. This is what Yehovah said. You would teach this. This will be explained to your children as well to our children. Because Yehovah, what he had done in Egypt, it doesn't, because it happened thousands of years ago, that means we forget. Because it happened, Yeshua died on the cross 2,000 years ago, over 2,000 years ago. We don't forget. We didn't forget about Adam and Eve. We didn't forget about Noah. We don't forget about Abraham. We don't forget about Jacob, named Jacob and Jacob turned into Israel. We don't forget about the 12 tribes. We don't forget the opportunity that we all have to join in together. And we're looking forward to more. So we don't forget this event that's occurring now, because Yeshua, you said that you're going to join in. And this is why you're learning this today. Now, he said, let your children know. What do you say to your children? You say this, that you should say, it is the sacrifice of Yehovah's Passover, not a Jew, not a Hebrew, not an Israelite, not a Gentile, but Yehovah's Passover, who passed over the houses of children of Israel in Egypt when he smote the Egyptians and delivered our houses. This is something that we are to remember. This is a memorial and not to be forgotten, but recognized till the end of age. Now, I'm all done as far as I'm going to go in for chapter 12. We went from chapter 12, verse 1, all the way to 28. I think there's like 51 chapters in chapter 12. So hopefully, I'm not even going to say hopefully, if we need to split up chapter 12 again, that is fine, because we're taking our time. Because all of this is laying foundation that you need to know. And what's so wonderful about this is that this Passover lamb, we are going to hear about from our Passover lamb on Saturday on episode number 9 of What Yeshua Taught. He is going to teach some magnificent things that we need to pay attention to. He is our Passover lamb, and we will learn more about that. I hope you learned today. So don't forget, before you leave out of here, hit that subscribe button, give me a thumbs up, leave me a comment. Join me on Saturday again at 10 o'clock a.m. for the episode 9. And next Tuesday, we will be in Exodus chapter 12. And I'm not for sure what verse we will end up, but we will be in chapter 12. As always, man does not live by bread alone, but lives by every word that comes from the mouth of Yehovah. I pray that you have a blessed rest of the week. And don't forget to stop by the Etsy studio, see some things that you might want as an investment of you studying the word, whatever tool that might be helpful to you. And I will see you then. And as always, may He bless you and keep you. Thank you. Thank you.